All right, everybody, welcome to the Resonant State podcast. We are continuing our journey into the world of the Manchurian candidate. I'm joined, of course, by Mr. William Ramsey. I almost said Professor William Ramsey because he should be a professor, and Sean McCann from Wake the Dead. And today is, I think, quite an interesting and really important direct source examination of the use of hypnotism and how early this developed and how advanced it was, and the various permutations, experimenting on criminals, college students, military people, and we'll look even use of various drugs, combining hypnotism with drug inputs. All this was going on in the 1930s. And just before we get started, I just want to say one note is that this hypnotism has become so normalized in our culture that what people take for most types of spiritual practices, mindfulness, meditation, all this stuff, all these experiences are going into a hypnotic trance. This is very distinct from a type of clear consciousness or awareness where you're able to access a different brain states, right? So the hypnotic trance, you are no longer in control. If you self hypnotize, you can put yourself into a trance. You can put yourself into another reality. You can either generate, can be used positively, or you can generate a self generating psychotic state, which can be collectively shared by the masses. So hypnotism has become um, just as something I just thought about today is that a lot of these things, even things that okay, let's do not to bash Wim Hof, whatever, but you're doing that, and it's a type of hypnotism, and you're putting a lot of strain on the body, right? You're doing a lot of things like ECT, eye movements. That's also these are hypnotic induction states. Therapy does, you know what I mean? And so people are so go to a safe place, go to your safe space. It's become so normalized that we are literally in a hypnotic world, and the way out seems to be to deeper hypnotism. So just to understand that. All right. Well, go ahead, Sean, if you'd like to take the mic, or William.
Oh, well, I just wanted to say, welcome Wake the Dead listeners to the conversation here. I'm glad we could be part of this, and this is part 7. Hans, you forgot to mention that this is then there's many other episodes on both your.
That's your job, Sean. Part
I'm keeping track, man. I'm
You're the
keeping track.
dude. You're like the secretary.
Oh, but this is my safe space. So you were saying go to your safe space. This here, speaking with you guys, my friends, this is my safe space, and I'm glad that my listeners can enjoy this with us. And I just wanted to take this moment to say, William, happy birthday. You made it around the sun one more time, and
Yeah, 57 times, guys. It's
that's great.
unbelievable.
Oh, happy birthday, dude! I didn't know
Thank you.
that.
Thank you.
Happy
Yeah.
birthday. Should we
We
sing
talked about it last night. No, please don't.
like Marilyn Monroe?
Yeah, we talked about it last night. We spoke with Julia she's Cosmic Mom now, and that got removed
I
already.
removed it. I was afraid that they're going
Oh,
to give me a
you did.
strike.
I thought it was
It's,
YouTube that
yeah,
did
no.
that.
It's
Okay,
available on my podcast. You can go to William Ramsey
good.
Investigates. The audio's there, Rockfin and Rumble.
Okay,
I'm just
wonderful.
really sensitive about YouTube these days.
No, it's yours to do with what you like. I'm glad there wasn't YouTube that did that. Because whatever. And
Some of these things,
yeah,
I just get a sense, like a sixth sense, like I got to take this down. I'm going to get a complaint or something.
Hey,
well, that's why you've survived so long, I'm sure, right?
uh,
So
William,
welcome,
I'm just,
William. Thank you.
I just sent a clip. If you could I mean, I know it's a little bit off topic, but it's Marilyn Monroe singing "Happy Birthday" to John F. Kennedy. In terms of what we're talking about, I thought it
I don't
maybe,
know if that's the right sentiment.
Joe, I don't know.
Yeah,
What do you think? Can we
okay.
play
If
it?
she's a mind control kind of like a puppet, then maybe it does make sense. I don't know.
Well,
That's
no,
true.
yeah,
Actually, you're right. It fits perfectly.
totally a mind control puppet. That's what I'm saying. I just
Yeah,
texted you that video, like,
Find it.
so.
yeah. That was her sex kitten persona doing that. Do we have
Does the
audio?
audio come through? No,
No.
I have to do something. Hold on. I have to bring it up in a different way.
There's always something. But yeah, that's
I have to
that
do
was
it this way. You should hear the audio now.
yes, we do.
Perhaps there has been no one female who meant so much, who has done more. Mr. President, the late Marilyn Monroe.
The late.
Wow. Wow.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Mr. President. Happy birthday to you. Thanks, Mr. President, for all the things you've done, the battles that you've won, the way you deal with U.S. Steel and our problems by the ton. We thank you so much. Everybody, happy
That's a cake. So funny. Somebody called me a CIA agent. Come on, I'm not CIA. They would never hire me, guys. They would
Typical
never
boomer
hire me.
agent.
Yeah, come on. That's
Dude, he's a boomer agent. You're not a boomer, are you? The boomers
68. So I don't. What's that make me? Generation
generation.
X.
Yeah.
Well, the self-hypnotizing that Hans was talking about is through the TV, and that was on TV, and she was singing to all of us at that point, right? I mean,
she sure was. It is interesting, your intro statement, Hans, because we take so much for granted, but like there's literal terminology from hypnotic induction in our language. You're triggered. Listen to all these kids. Oh, this really triggered me. Like, why are you getting triggered? Why are you having like something in your wiring where you get triggered, right? Like, I mean, my kids use that term all the time. I'm like, why are you doing that? But yeah, this document really is something else. I think it's an important document, and it sets.
Oh, sorry. The hypnotism is something that known by this term. We have mesmerism. We have mesmer. We also have the fact that people, whether they're the occult magician, whether it's Gregor Rasputin, whether it's, probably, we looked at Gildore.
Hitler,
these people
for sure.
probably they are able to hypnotize people, quote unquote, right? You put into a trance, it becomes suggestible. So, but there's also multiple layers, right? But I mean, it's literally, what I'm trying to say is that it's almost like you can't get out of the trance. Everything is a hypnotic trance.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And this is very, very dangerous, especially when, sit in mindfulness. I'm very mindful. No, you're self-hypnotizing, dude. Actual meditation, just to throw this out there. Two things, basically. Number one, being able to absolutely, completely concentrate on one point for however, a certain period of time. Total concentration, absolute concentration. Other, complete, full, absolutely relaxed, complete awareness, attention, complete openness. Most of these states, people, that's not mindfulness as most people experience it. These things are continually inducing these trances. The therapy, the programming, the the media, the the whole state of this planet is a hypnotic trance, I think, at this point.
Yes. And the levels, like there's the trauma-based hypnotism, and then there's like the alpha state brainwave hypnotism from the TV, and you're talking about how Hitler was such a good orator and he would put people they developed TV at the same time, and it had like a green screen, and like there would be viewing stations where all the locals could come to this house together and view the TV together in like a group setting, which is even more hypnosis inducing, because then you're becoming part of the mass watching this like hypnotic square of a green square just programming. Anyway,
Yeah, I did a show on Hanussen. Hanussen was a guy who's kind of like an occultist and a stage, hypnotist, and then he predicted somehow the Reichstag fire, crucial event in Nazi Germany. Then he was dead in a week. Like somebody took him and shot him and dumped him in the forest. And it's kind of this weird overlap between him and Hitler. And he might have, like Hitler probably adopted, I think in part, some of his techniques. And so I think that there's a component of Hitler, even all those speeches and the backdrops and everything like that, and all the effects is had a hypnotic effect, the darkening and the audio. Like he was definitely kind of had that kind of ability to stage stuff all the way up until the present, really, and all the TV stuff. And
that's why they chose an artist,
yeah.
Right? They chose an artist for that role that Hitler took. I mean, he was an artist, right? And he was into creating imagery, and he created the swastika like that, and the blood flag, and all that stuff was, it's art to control their minds in that way.
But
all that stuff. Yeah.
But it's important to note that the real research you mentioned, like watching in a collective thing, the group, the trust, the psychology factor, this all was studied in the 1930s. Gordon Allport, The Psychology of Radio, how when it was FDR's Fireside Chats, and this was one of the major, portholes of research and then how the family structure and the social structure is reconstructed in the home environment. You could say the priest, the church, the father, everything becomes this gigantic radio box. Right? Remember how big those radios were? They were huge. And then how FDR was able to lead people in, and he said a hypnotic trance, right? But also this sense of collectivity, a collective identification through media.
It's so well said. I'm glad you brought that up.
All you have to see is this No Kings marches that just happened this weekend. A lot of those people don't even know why they're there. They just got in and, went on this march because supposedly Trump is a king or whatever. They've been told all this stuff. I saw people interviewing them. They're like, well, I just think it's important to protest. It's like, whoa, they conscious awareness.
That's the same. It's always been like that, right? And it's if they're out in the streets yelling, then they're not going to actually do anything. And it's just burning off steam like a valve pressure release, and
it's like Occupy Wall Street. Nothing ever
exactly that. Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Noam Chomsky, big figure for developing this, to be honest. Like Noam Chomsky, extremely important, right? On the left, like the real theorist, the intellectual theorist of the left, even though he's working in computer, sort of like a computer type of modeling of language, as in his MIT work. But he always said, first of all, it was like JFK, who cares? It doesn't matter who killed
he
JFK.
Said
9/11. Who cares?
Building 7.
Who cares?
What? You're an idiot. Yeah.
So what you need to do, he says an example of, we need a Nuremberg trial. Well, the Nuremberg trial was about as corrupt as it gets. Let's not forget that, how evil that trial was. But also go out and protest. That's how you're going to make change. You're going to protest in the street. That's going to make change. Is it? I mean,
not really.
No, not.
It makes you a victim. They can go out there with snipers and just pick you off. Like, I mean, that's what they do in other countries,
That's what they did in Ukraine, the 2014 Maidan so-called revolution or whatever it was.
Right. And when they gather groups together, they can just kill them. I mean, uh, they can send in one lone nut, right? One of these programmed multiples that's programmed to kill. They can send in one of those guys and, make a big splash on the news and have it be and make everybody afraid of their neighbors and afraid to gather together. And, it sends the culture shockwave and that traumatizes all of us and it makes us all go along with it's a system of traumatizing us and then keeping us like in the cage, so this Grok, the clown or whatever, like he is he's in a mental cage due to the trauma shocks, and if we look at government, like all governments, like that's how they do it, and it's all mind control, and FDR was leading us into one way, and then the flag pledging is another type of it's just forming our brains to be slaves the whole time. And
look at the recent history. Like you had 9/11, people are shocked and in fear.
yes.
Then you had the financial meltdown. Everybody's worried about their house or their mortgage. And then you had COVID.
Right.
And now Charlie Kirk got his head blown off right in front of everybody. And they have this guy, Tyler Robinson, who knows what his persona is. Like, where is this guy? Like, what's the story? So I think that these are shocks. Like Charlie Robinson was intended to be seen
Charlie
by
Robinson.
all. Yeah. Oh, sorry,
you-
Charlie Kirk. Excuse
You
me.
know what? And I saw at the
Tyler
funeral.
Robinson, the guy's name.
Right.
Sorry. At the funeral, his wife is doing this thing, and they call it the horns of love.
Oh, no way.
Literally at the funeral, yeah, like this thing and that symbol.
Right.
It's people were wondering why she. Oh, this is the horn, and I was like, really, ancient
Horns
Christian
even.
symbol, horns of
Horns.
love, even though it's associated with Baphomet, and it's,
Sure.
it's like,
That's silly. I mean, if they could just say like the sign language,
Horns
maybe,
of
or
love.
make it like, but horns, they even say horns, and then to love the horns is Baal, to love your Lord, that's to worship, never mind. It's sick all around. Okay, so getting on with this here, what is this, William, again? This is from 1930. Okay, this is a 2017 FOIA document between G.H. Estabrooks and the FBI, right? And not just one member, there is many people have signed that they have seen these documents. And this was seemingly an accidental release of FOIA, that they actually spilled some truth here. And we are going to look at this with a fine-tooth comb. It's 98 page document that everybody can find. I posted it on my Wake the Dead Odyssey page. They can click download from that and to download this PDF. So they can all follow and read along for themselves and to see where we're coming from. But we have it on the screen for those of you who are watching. William, please take the route.
I think it's one of the more important documents because it establishes the interest in this, and Estabrooks is really kind of like the American version of Mesmer. So he's like really one of the early researchers pre-World War II, and he's really trying to reach out. He's at Colgate University, upstate New York. It's in Hamilton. This document's from 2017 through Black Vault. The guy's name is John Greenwald. You can also download the document there. There's actually two documents. There's a 495 pager and then another 40 pager. But I think the way it's laid out is that Estabrooks is reaching out to Hoover and Clyde Tolson, his gay lover, and all these other people at the FBI. He's trying to explain stuff to them, like, hey, you can use this in criminology. But then it starts to kind of unravel. Like, you can see it. It's almost like people's understanding of hypnotism and the techniques that are used is being played out in this document, because most people don't know some of the stuff they're able to do with splitting brains and alters and the deep induction type stuff. Yeah.
So this is proof that the scientists are teaching the government how they can implement this in their control of the population. Right?
Exactly. You realize Hoover's trying to figure it out, or these guys are actually starting to ask questions. Well, where else can we use this? Interrogation, criminology, or what if we create a, and then it's like they're like, oh, now we can actually kind of do this, and it really plays out because Hoover is one of those. I mean, we call it the deep state now, which I think is a simple, overly simplistic term, but he's literally in the government from like 1920 to his death in 1970, having tons of information on people, always pulling the levers on stuff, and behind a lot of these assassinations in the 60s. Hoover's right there.
Those levers are blackmail, right?
Right. Blackmail, knowledge, manipulation. I mean, once they have information on you, then they can like try to destroy your reputation through that stuff. And like, I mean, there's all kinds of techniques that a skilled long-term government asset like Hoover, who really is just working for the elite, the aristocracy, the American aristocracy, can do to keep control. Like, so it's not just against the left. And the FBI is kind of weird part of the Justice Department because they're involved in so many different stuff, like agent provocateurs. Like this goes all the way up to January 6th, where they just admitted there were 250 people in that march on the Capitol building. They lied about it. Ray would just deceive people and left it out. And then you have this whole thing all the way with the call center cash is like, you guys better believe this story about Tyler Robinson or you're a conspiracy theorist. So I think that there's different elements and aspects or facets of this document, the relationship between Esther Brooks and Hoover, that are very important, play out in our history, American history, the secret kind of underground history of America. And it leads all the way up to today with all these weird people like Bolter, Mangione, Crooks, Ruth. So this document to me is like super important because it kind of lays it out. So it's not like it's and it was previously undisclosed. I don't think any of this information was out before 2017. It shows like the secrecy and classification is so important in our society. There's so much secrecy. We don't know much about COVID was kept secret. I'm sure there's 9/11 stuff that's secret. A lot of these assassinations, wars, and things like that were involved in secret. The informational, I mean, this is kind of a thing, but like you talk about the trauma and the collective kind of traumatizing of the population, but it's almost like that's the informational war that our own government has waged against the American people and triumphed, really. It's really an informational war that they've had, and they've kept that information. So that's like the importance. This is like an insight into an informational monopoly where they kept it to themselves but didn't disclose this to the public. And there's so much of that. CIA as an organization can just be, it's really a centralized informational monopoly. They knew all the information, they knew all the mind control stuff, and used it actually against the interests of the American people, and still are today. So really, I just cannot understate the importance, in my opinion, of this document as we read through this.
And just bear in mind, again, this is really pre-television, right? This is radio, and again, with very limited radio control, and of course, not to juxtapose too much, but like you have the television originally, some of the people working on it was seen as a medium to communicate with spirits, right? Used in spiritualism, used as a way to communicate to the other side, the other world, right? Also like seeing at a distance, etc. But the hypnotic capabilities, they don't even have those at this time, right? But imagine this research that's very much. I think the reason I brought up the Marilyn Monroe thing is not just because it's William's birthday, which it is. And so you feel like Marilyn is singing to you, right? How does that? But really weird, right? The late Marilyn Monroe.
That was important. Yeah.
But this is it. But she is a hypnotic subject, right? Just like, Kurt Lowen or whatever these guys talk about. The audience is also being hypnotized by her.
Exactly.
She's 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 in a trance, and she's also entrancing the audience. She's, you know what I mean?
That's Hollywood. That's like the whole thing. Like, but the first thing that was transmitted through television was the Iron Cross. Did you know that? So they're like, that's the Templar cross, right? And that's what they're transmitting into. And the Templars worship Baphomet, right? I mean, just wanted to add that I think it was Telefunken or something that was the first image that they broadcast was the Iron Cross. Yeah, it's. I
I'm
mean,
just trying to show people what Esterbrook's looked like. So
oh,
it's kind
okay.
of like one of these, one of many really. He's in there with Cameron, Gottlieb, Delgado, Jolly, and West, Lily, and there's that's not George Esterbrook's there.
Look, there's
That's
Larry.
actually
Look at
Cameron. They actually used a picture of Cameron again for Esterbrook. But let
look
me
at
see.
Larry's mustache.
Yeah.
But that's how they are occulting it. They're not even showing us his face. They got.
This is how we started the whole thing. There's Billy
Oh,
Boy.
there's
Oh,
Bill
yeah.
in his
Yeah.
trance.
Yep, there he is. Let's see it. So this is what
There he
Esterbrook
is.
really looks
Right.
like. Yeah,
Ugh.
anyway, he's an interesting guy, but he says this is a direct quote: only a people who refuse to permit themselves to sink into intellectual lethargy and conformity, only a people who question and think, can be sure that hypnosis disguised or direct will not undermine their freedom and rob them of their very lives. So
Oh, okay.
very profound statement.
And when he says rob them of their very lives, I mean, he means it. That's not
Right.
hyperbole.
Yeah, no,
Right?
you're right.
That is that. I mean, literally, if you're in a hypnotic state all the time, you're not really alive, right? You're in a certain level. You're a zombie.
Right.
but,
What is it to live? To have your own will, right? And to control your actions of your body is right. If you're not doing that, then you're not awake, aware. Like the Freemasons call them the dead. The unbegun. The uninitiated. Anyway, here we go. This here is the first page. Is this?
This is it. These are like official documents. Like it's incredible. And you'll see this old school for people who are young. Like when they used to send stuff before email, you didn't get CC'd. You would have this little list of like the corporate heads or the heads of the administrative body of the FBI here. And then people would check mark to see who got copies. So you'll see on this one, this is a memorandum for the director, December 24th, 1935, where it's Chuck Tolson is there and then Clegg. And then some of these other names I've checked out, and they're like all kind of infamous kind of FBI heads. But let's see, I can read this one. This is kind of
so those people are in the loop.
Right, they're like CC.
The inner circle, but I mean, so like they would recognize each other from the higher orders that they
100%. So they're the inner core of the FBI. All these people are.
Real quick, what's interesting is that you see how quickly Esterbrook's is basically in this beginning of these documents is introduced to Hoover. Here's my college buddy, George Esterbrook's, how fast it proceeds within weeks, right? Months.
Yeah,
they're training special agents. They're doing this and that. I mean, it's just like, whoa, this is off to the races.
Yeah. And he's traveling to DC. So he's coming down like New York and they're having symposiums or something like that, like presentations, and you'll see that. But you just see that like they're putting this out. Memorandum for the director. I've reviewed the attached memorandum addressed to you by Mr. Lester under the date of December 10th, 1935, concerning the experiments, so he's already experimenting, conducted by Dr. George Esterbrook, professor of psychology at Colgate, in the use of practical and applied hypnotism. So he's taught the practice and application. I believe that the Bureau's time would be well spent if some employee having a scholastic background in psychology were authorized to spend as much time as is necessary with Dr. Esterbrook for the purpose of developing his technique and obtaining the benefit of his experience. I believe that hypnotism has wonderful possibilities in the investigative field, and have noticed a number of articles in the past year dealing with the success encountered by various European agencies, particularly, I believe, in Hungary, in the use of hypnotism during the course of questioning of subjects. So EATAM. That goes to the director, right? Goes to Hoover.
Hungary's important, man. That's so.
And that was the kind of thing Minzensky. If you look at the thumbnail that I used for this this episode, it was like this. There was some kind of priest they were putting the zap on, and his name he had a Hungarian name, Minzetsy or something like that. And you guys want to read this next one?
I can't really see too good with the resolution on the screen, but I would if I could here. Let's see.
Bring can you
You're
bring up
muted,
the
Hans. You're muted, Hans.
yeah, you're muted, I know. Can you bring up the doc PDF yourself, Sean?
I can. Yeah, I'll
I
find it.
want to.
Mhm.
Hans, you're muted. We cannot hear you, bro.
And I'm trying not to
There you go.
interrupt. I got my cat of nine tails. I'm not going to be like Sean. I'm not going to
I'm doing better. I'm trying my best. That's right.
electroshock, self-tasering.
Oh.
Anyways, so here we go. Memorandum for the director, December 10th, 1935. What was the date on that first one? The first one, the intro one is, um, so we're at, so December 24th. So this is actually earlier. So they're not necessarily in chronological order. Okay. So this is December 10th, memorandum for the director. Practical Hypnotism as Applied by Dr. George Esterbrooks of Colgate University faculty. While in Colgate University to fill speaking engagements on December 9th, 1935, Dr. George Esterbrooks, professor of psychology at Colgate, outlined to me a plan of practical and applied hypnotism and asked my opinion concerning it. I think that may be important, practical and applied. Dr. Esterbrooks has made considerable research into this subject and has been encouraged therein by Dr. George Cooten, president of Colgate University, a psychologist of some note, himself who published some outstanding works about 20 years ago on this subject. Dr. Cooten informed me that he had witnessed many of Dr. Esterbrooks' experiments and that they were marvelous in their results. Dr. Esterbrooks has developed a method of putting individuals to sleep without their knowledge that they are being hypnotized. He does not use the eyes in this method, but a gentle massage of certain portions of the neck. As he explained the theory, the hypnotized person does not realize that he has been hypnotized. He has made hundreds of experiments in the last 2 years, particularly with CCC camp members, and says that the system is absolutely infallible. He says that persons, while asleep from this method, will answer any questions propounded to them absolutely truthfully. He has also worked out a test with the reflex of certain muscles of the hand, which he states positively shows whether the subject is actually asleep or is faking sleep. Dr. Esterbrooks has had correspondence with certain members of military intelligence units of the Army and Navy, and they have assured him that they are very enthusiastic concerning his work along these lines. He has been invited to come to Washington and give practical demonstrations before representatives of the military intelligence units of both the Army and Navy, these units to furnish him subjects for demonstrations. I informed him, operators and things. So, okay, anyways, I informed him that you were tremendously interested in matters of this kind and that they might have some possibilities in criminological work. I assured him that upon the occasion of his visit in Washington, you would very much like to have him meet our technical laboratory experts and have a confidential discussion with them. Dr. Esterbrooks assured me that his theory was absolutely, scare quotes, foolproof and could be practiced by anyone without the slightest danger to the subject. I knew Dr. Esterbrooks very well as a student at Oxford University and believe that his system contains great possibilities in criminological work. Notice he doesn't say for in in criminological work. I'll just finish this. Okay. He informed me that he had been keeping it entirely secret and that it had been made known only to the intelligence units of the Army and Navy. Because of my friendship with Dr. Esterbrooks, I feel certain that if you so desire, I can make arrangements for him to discuss his theory with Mr. Coffey or other members of the technical laboratory staff, explain the results he has obtained to them in detail, and if desirable, give actual demonstrations. If he has a successful method, and it seems to me that he has, the Bureau could easily obtain very favorable publicity concerning the development of this theory if and when Dr. Estabrooks decided to make it known to the world. Incidentally, Dr. Estabrooks' idea is not to make money for himself, but to aid the world generally, particularly shell shocked and gassed soldiers. Tavistock, right? Dr. Estabrooks was overseas several times with the Canadian armies and had an enviable service record with them. I suggest in this connection that Dr. Estabrooks might be given a serious consideration as a lecturer on practical and applied psychology to appear before some of the subsequent police training schools conducted by the Bureau. I feel that the Bureau has everything to gain and nothing to lose by discussing with Dr. Estabrooks, through its technical experts, his theory of applied hypnotism.
Just wanted to bring up the shell shock portion, how that relates to Grok the Clown. These people their brains have been changed by trauma, and he rushes in there to do the reprogramming. It's very interesting.
But there's so much to unpack just in this 2 pages.
Yeah.
Subjects to be given away, secrecy, not revealed to the world, Army and Navy intel. So this is pre-CIA, and it actually kind of goes all the way through. And if we even go back to the Manchurian Candidate, which started this whole kind of these bunch of 7 episodes off, Marco is Army intelligence, right? So this is like this knowledge has disseminated itself not just to the CIA, it's in other departments of the government, including the FBI, which is these documents are proven. That guy, his name is W.D. Lester. He was a friend of Hoover. I looked his name up, so I know that he was like a close colleague. He died of a so-called car crash, which you always kind of double think that if it's really true. But look at all these names here on the bottom of this one. Present at the conference were Messrs. Tolson, Nathan Clegg, Edwards, Tam, Coffey, Tracy, Glavin. They're all there. They're all at this other conference. Do you want to read this one, Sean? Can you see it, or should I read it?
Yeah, I can do that one.
Real quick, Coffey is mentioned a lot in these documents. I'm not familiar with him, but I just referencing the show we did on the Ipcris file, is that book, Barbara O'Brien's very weird and disturbing book, Operators and Things. So they are directly referring to those subjects furnished by the Army as things. Literally, they are things, right? They are furnished. They're, it's written very clearly that, you know what I mean? And I think there's a few things hidden in here. And so that, again, I just mentioned also the Tavistock Institute, right? Working with the World War I shell shock victims. I think that shell shocked and gassed people, there's a little bit of double speak coded language in this memo. I would propose.
That makes sense. Yeah. Like shell shock could cover all the people who have had trauma-based mind control, whatever, not just those people in war. And then those reading it could apply it in their minds. Oh yeah, that would fit, So we're at the next page here, January 10th, 1936, memorandum for the director. The Executives Conference took up for consideration a matter outlined in Mr. Lester's memorandum of December 10th and Mr. Thames' memorandum of December 24th, 1935, relative to a method developed by Dr. George Estabrooks, professor of psychology at Colgate University, of putting individuals to sleep without their knowledge that they are being hypnotized. Dr. Estabrooks was a classmate of Mr. Lester at Oxford University, and during Mr. Lester's recent visit to Colgate University, he was informed by Dr. Estabrooks that he made hundreds of experiments within the last few years, particularly with the CCC camp members, and states that the system which he has evolved is absolutely infallible. And we talked last time that the CCC members are also captive because they're poor people during the Depression who needed money from the government, so they'll just sign up for anything, just like the people who sign up for war or are drafted or whatever. They give away their body to the government so that these experiments can happen legally, I guess, or illegally. I don't know. Getting back to it. In hypnotizing the individuals, he does not use the eyes, but massages certain portions of the neck. Okay, sorry guys. He does not use the eyes, but massages certain portions of the neck. Mr. Tam, in his memorandum, states that he believes the Bureau's time would be well spent if some employee having a scholastic background in psychology were authorized to devote the requisite amount of time with Dr. Estabrooks for the purpose of developing his technique and obtaining the benefit of his experience, as he believes that it has possibilities in the investigative field. Mr. Lester suggests that it might be desirable to have someone in the laboratory have this theory explained and witness some actual demonstrations, and believes that the Bureau could easily obtain very favorable publicity concerning the development of the theory. So he massages people's neck. I mean, he's actually touching the people to induce a trance. That's interesting. Is that legal? I mean, what do you think, William? Do you have anything to say about that?
I don't know. It seems odd, but it is interesting that they're going back and forth. This is Clyde Tolson, so this is Hoover's alleged lover or whatever. It's like,
Oh,
yeah.
But I would think
It goes
that
straight to the top. Yeah.
But touching the neck, that sounds like that's like one of the the pickup artist triggers,
oh
right?
no.
That's NLP. You got NLP. You got Milton Erickson, really the founder of NLP. So the touching portions of the neck is you've already installed a trigger,
Wow.
right? Unless it's some kind of kung fu samurai nerve. No, he's installed triggers.
Right.
And that trigger, you go and trigger it. That's how he's inducing the hypnosis. So it's probably, it could be a language, hello, we're here today and I will touching your neck and you will be everything's under control. You change that thing. So I just said, I'll touch your neck. You'll be under my control. Right. That was a very good hypnotic command.
How about listen to me, just like from Ipcris file, right?
Right.
Listen to me. Listen to me. Listen to me.
Everybody should listen to that episode you guys did. That's such a great episode. I just listened yesterday.
It's a great movie too. I really enjoyed watching that movie.
Yeah.
Good. There were 5 made. Somebody actually told me to look up the next one, or the second one, which is The Mind Machine. You ever hear that one?
No.
Yeah, he said The Mind Machine's really good because it's kind of
Mind Machine.
expression about kind of like Palantir, like somebody has this huge computer that's spitting out information.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's the future, man.
It's the Harry Palmer series. There's 5 in the Harry Palmer
Wow.
series.
Really?
Yeah, let me see if I can find
oh.
it. It's
Well,
like one of
that's-
these things, like when I do these shows, like some of the comments and the emails I get are super important. Like
Yeah, we have
people know more than I do.
Yeah.
Is that 2013? No.
No, it's in the 60s.
Because they keep doing. There's a like a Netflix remake of it too. I heard or something.
I think
Or
you're right.
Amazon something.
$1 billion Brain. That was it.
$1 billion Brain. Ken Russell. Oh, that's gonna be good.
Yeah, that's
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know
He
that.
said that. He said that was. It was also produced by Harry Saltzman. So let me see if I can bring that up. This is what he recommended. Stop. There it is right here. Does that look familiar at all? With the lightning bolt too. That's really a tell.
Oh.
Pretty wild, huh?
Whoa! I just saw that Mind Machine of the title refers to this advanced computer which controls Midwinter's global spy network and issues daily directives to his operators. The computer's voice is identical to the one that summoned Palmer, creating a sense of disorientation and paranoia. Wow. Definitely want to watch
And
that.
Russell's kind of infamous too, right? I didn't know like they put him on to direct this. That's something else. I think that's the guy who directed Devils of Loudon, right? Or the
Yeah,
Devils.
yeah, which is
Devils.
just an insane movie, man.
Great
Devils of
movie, well
Loudon.
done. It's really awesome.
All of his movies are like that, though. I mean,
Yeah.
how about what is it? The white Lair of the White Worm. That's a good one. Ken Russell.
This is the only film which Ken Russell worked as a mainstream director for hire.
Wow.
Well, that goes to show something, but definitely because they're very careful on who gets to make movies. You know.
Yeah. No, I think he didn't let him make public movies. Yeah. So this is probably our next show right here, guys.
That'd be great.
$1 Billion
I would love
Brain.
Wow.
Ed
That's
Begley,
wonderful.
Carl Malden.
I'm gonna have
Streets
to-
of San Francisco.
I'm gonna have to find that. Streets San Francisco too. Oh,
Yeah, no,
man.
Carl Malden was in Streets of San Francisco.
Oh, okay. So I'll continue. if you
Anyway,
guys
sorry,
wanna
okay.
keep going. The conference was opened or no opposed. This is tough. It's like a mimeograph or whatever. The conference was opened to
Opposed.
opposed. Sorry, man. I'm sorry, everybody. The conference was opposed to devoting any considerable time to a study of this method, as it felt that the Bureau should be very circumspect in any action regarding the application of this technique. It believes that it would be very undesirable to have any publicity in connection with this procedure. Keep it occulted, guys.
Yeah.
But feels that it might be casually followed up by some representative of the Bureau and recommends that since Mr. Nathan will be in New York State within the vicinity of the university in a short time, that he be authorized to tactfully contact Dr. Estabrooks with a view to obtaining information regarding the subject. Those present at the conference were Messrs.
I think it's short for
Tolson. I don't know who
Misters
they
or
guys.
something like that. Tolson, Nathan, Clegg, Edwards, Tam, Coffee, Tracy, Glavin, and Quinn. Tolson is that when I showed that picture. Let me see.
I
If
thought
can
that
bring
was another name, Messrs. Okay,
No, it's like a honorific,
like a
title.
French or something.
Yeah.
Okay,
They don't use it anymore, but they used to.
I
But
see.
I showed that picture of Hoover and Tolson last time. I should bring it back up because then people.
So
kind of know what's going
Nathan,
on.
Clegg, Edwards, Tom, Coffey, we talked about, and Tracy, Glavin, and Quinn. Do you people recognize those names?
Not so much. We have to.
I know Tolson and Hoover,
Right.
but
Yeah.
I mean, you can see on the upper right, they're also being CC'd check marks, like they're getting all this information.
Right. We see that Nathan signed it and Olson signed it.
But this one's important. The next one's really important because it's a direct letter to Estabrooks from J. Edgar Hoover.
Yeah.
So like 1936.
One thing I just find odd in this, right, is this contradictory thing of the Bureau could easily obtain very favorable publicity concerning the development of this theory, and then saying it should be, the next paragraph says it should be keep it under wraps, like deep under wraps. So what is that? I'm wondering if that's like a code word or, because you know what I mean? Even this technique, why would they even want to obtain favorable publicity, right? You know what I mean? It's not something you need to publicly display, right? And they're using it in sort of a secret methodology, right? Without their knowledge, hypnotizing subjects without their knowledge. And then they're saying very undesirable to have any publicity in connection with this procedure. So something is there. I'm just saying, and these guys they're not just going to glitch out when they're writing these memos, I would assume. You know what I mean? Like there must be some reason for that.
Do you think maybe it's because they had such confidence that the public was so already in a trance that they can just roll it out with publicity and it would be taken up happily by
I,
the
I think it
public?
means something. It may mean something else, or maybe some type of encoded language, because
Okay.
they're making very clear that they don't want any publicity, right? Keep this under wraps.
Right.
Obtain very favorable publicity. What does that actually mean? Obtain, right? Obtain very favorable. So on the surface, it sounds like, oh, we're just going to promote it. FBI, new hypno agents. They
Yeah,
will come
right.
and
Yeah.
wall. Did you kill the man? Did you kill the man? Yes, I mean, you can see it like the science fiction, like from outer space with their palms, with a spiral. But I don't think that's what they mean. But that's the kind of the publicity that would be for the public, right? So I wonder if there's something else there. I'm just throwing it out there. I may be wrong.
Right, but like so a lot of those
shadow
times,
language.
if you shadow language, that's a perfect way of putting it, because that's what like they did at COVID. Like they'd have these public things, but then they'd also have burner phones and other ways to communicate. Fauci had it, so they're very like cloak and dagger, and I think these guys are too. So they have the official FBI language that they're willing to put in writing, and then like the other stuff is like a mob, like you only talk where nobody can see it. But for people who don't know what Hoover and Tolson look like, this is a picture of them together. They were apparently inseparable. And so Tolson's involved in this, Hoover's involved. I did an interview with Hoover like later in the 60s. Hoover and LBJ lived on the same street and hung out with each other. So it's very important, these connections that are made between Hoover. He also told me, I forgot his name, but I had a guess. Apparently Hoover was a guy who crossed over, meaning that he in his ancestry, he had African American blood, and at a certain point he passed as white. And if you look at him and study him, you can kind of see maybe he does have, like, he looks like he might have African traits. So like there were these things that happened. That was very important back then too. Is like be determined as white, but I think you can just kind of see he looks like he might be like a light-skinned African American guy. Pretty interesting.
But he was super light in the loafers, as they say, right? I mean,
he wore dresses and stuff. Yeah,
he would host these parties, right?
Yeah.
Isn't it just like Obama?
Yeah, Obama's like
He's a black guy
country,
that passes, and he's also like a queer who's got like, in my opinion,
the matching shoes are so cute.
They're very well dressed, properly cuffed pants, 1-inch cuff, the whole bit. They think they were like, what do they call it? Cufflinks and stuff like that. Like they're well dressed.
Well, queers usually care about what they look like a bunch, don't they? I mean, isn't that?
I think so.
So like this is public in the man's clothes, and then the private in the female clothes, and that whole gender bending stuff, like you talked about that forever ago, William, with Genesis P-Orage and the whole like occult combining of the sexes,
the
and
positive androgyne, the pandrogyne, that's what they call them. It's positive. It's positive.
Yeah,
and it goes
if
back
you
to
frame it
Crowley,
in
too.
that way, it gives you the neuro-linguistic programming. I like this.
Yeah, cut your boobs off. It goes actually, Crowley in his like admission of who Iwas was called him a positive androgyne. So that's where Genesis P-Orage possibly gets it from. Crazy. Whatever his name was, Megson or whatever his real name was.
But I mean, they promoted that guy, and they put that into the whole culture was created in to accept that, and so
he was one of the he's one of the earlier proponents, is that guy that makes plastic surgery, gender bending type stuff.
And if you research any of the people, the survivors of SRA, generational SRA, a lot of them in the occult like situations, when they have their other personalities up, they dress them as the opposite sex, and they teach them that everyone is gay and all children are, whatever Kinsey says, that all children are sexual since birth and shit. They put that into their heads. But like Kurth Barker was Kathy, and he would be put in a dress when they did the pornography with him and stuff, and the pedophilia crap and all the videos. And but then in his front life, he was Kurth and a boy, and it's interesting that this guy is famous for doing that in his occult parties. He's wearing a dress and, but in front of everybody else, he's, So who knows
Right.
if this
This
is
guy,
one
and
of them.
according to him, the mafia didn't exist, right? According to Hoover.
Right.
And that's supposedly who was blackmailing him, was him or Roy Cohn, which goes all the way back to Manchurian Candidate, right? So Roy
Yes.
Cohn and all these characters, naval, military intelligence. But yeah, really crazy stuff.
Do you want to read the next one, or should?
Yeah, and
should I-
these
I
guys
can read it?
always were like
keep going if
summering.
you
They
want.
they would go to clubs all the time or spas. There was some spa in San Diego or whatever that this is maybe where this picture is taken. Like there was some kind of famous mob owned place in North San Diego that they were at, and I get the vibe here that that's where they're at, but because it looks beachy as that little beach walk thing in the background. Anyway,
Who wears saddle shoes to the beach. What
Such
the
a
hell?
cute couple.
Oh yeah.
But
So-
I mean,
I'll read this one. This
Okay,
is
what-
between from J. Edgar Hoover to Estabrooks, 36 June 9th. Dear Professor Estabrooks, Mr. Nathan of this bureau has informed me of his very interesting conference with you recently relative to the possibility of utilizing hypnotic processes in the field of law enforcement. I desire to express to you my sincere appreciation for your courtesy in cooperating with Mr. Nathan. I should like to arrange, if possible, for you to be in Washington at some mutually convenient time during the next 4 months to make a talk before the Bureau's training school for special agents on the general application of psychology to the problem of law enforcement in crime detection, pre-crime type stuff. While you are in the city, if agreeable to you, I should like to learn more about the application of hypnotism as an aid in solving law enforcement problems, and should like to arrange to have you confer with various members of the Bureau's technical and scientific laboratory staff on the occasion of your visit to Washington. The next training school for special agents will begin in July and will continue for 14 weeks. If you will advise me as to the approximate dates when you will be available for this purpose, I shall be glad to make an adjustment in the Bureau's program in order to arrange for a time that will be convenient to you. So he's going to adjust his schedule for Estabrooks. That's like the secret language you're talking about. Like he knows, like, oh, I really want you to be here. You will be reimbursed, of course, for your expenses incident to your appearance before the Bureau's training school and your conference at the Bureau. I regret it is not possible under the Bureau's appropriations to give an honorarium for such previous, I think. But I assure you that
Services?
services, yeah, for such services, thank you. But I assure you that your cooperation will be duly appreciated. I am engaging herewith for your information a booklet concerning the Bureau's training schools, and I trust you will find it convenient to assist us along the lines indicated. Sincerely yours, John Edgar Hoover, Director. To Mr. Nathan, too. Yeah.
I just wanted to say that it's important to note that he's giving a front reason for Estabrooks to visit Washington. Oh, just talk to them, make a general conference about whatever. And then while you're not doing that, come and see me personally and talk to these people specifically and do the real work. We want you here. But on the books, it's going to be, he's doing this, teaching the FBI about what, general nothing. But
Right.
it's a front for his other true reason for being in Washington. So that's how it always works. Like, so the news and all the record books will say he went for this reason, which is
Exactly right. So he's playing this game. Hoover's only like 40 years old at this point. So like he's super young at the head of the FBI already.
Well, notice this. So talk about sort of encoded language or valence, right? So I don't know if that's in closing or whatever word you used. Herewith, right? So that's a legal term, right? Notice that last paragraph. For your information, I am enclosing herewith, for your information, a booklet concerning I can't read that, training schools, right? And I trust you will find it convenient to assist us along the lines indicated. So the actual, I bet in that the notes, the marginal notes, right, on that brochure or pamphlet, right? That's going to have the lines indicated.
Specific language that can't even be printed here. Like it's
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you can sense that that's what's going on. Like there's something else going on. And you have to remember this is taking place before the CIA, before World War II, before the OSS. This is really remarkable. Like this is like unique, this interplay between really the founder of American mesmerism or hypnotism and J. Edgar Hoover. Um, does anybody want to read this one? I don't even know. I mean, this kind of went out to everybody. We have 250 live listeners. Everybody, thanks for listening.
Oh, wow.
Please share the show if you like it. Also, you can go back. There's 6 other episodes, so you can listen to those. Those are all like hour and a half, 2-hour episodes. But a lot of information that kind of, if you're hearing us reference stuff from the past, it's because it's the past episodes in this series. Anyway, does anybody feel like reading? I can read it.
Okay.
I can keep going.
I'll go ahead.
Okay, good.
Okay. Memorandum for the director. The executive conference considered a memorandum dated May 25th, 1936, submitted by Mr. Nathan relative to his visit with Professor G.H. Esterbrooks, professor of psychology and vocational director at Colgate University. Mr. Nathan suggested that Professor Esterbrooks be invited to address the Bureau's police training school. And while he was here, as his expenses will be paid for the above purpose, he can be provided with an opportunity to further discuss and demonstrate the technique of hypnotism and its application to law enforcement problems. The executive conference believed that Professor Esterbrooks might properly be invited to talk before the Bureau's training school for special agents, but it thought it best not to ask him to talk before the police training school at this time.
Huh.
He can be assigned to discuss some subject in the field of the application of psychology to law enforcement without reference to hypnotism. Very, very, very important. Without reference to hypnotism. If this recommendation is approved, there's attached here a memo addressed to Mr. Clegg, and then those present at the conference were Messrs. Tolson, Nathan Quinn, and I can't read the rest because there's a stamp on top of it. But notice that, right? Very directly stating that there is he's being brought in, just like that show I was watching about the serial killer profiles, some kind of Netflix thing. I got pretty bored with it, but it's talking about how they started doing psychological profiling in the 70s, right? Or whatever. And the guy who invented the name serial killer. Well, there's pretty advanced psychologists there, right? It's not, I mean, this guy was, he's pretty advanced. He's there talking about psychology in law enforcement. The hypnotism is being kept hidden from the regular employees. Who's it being presented to? Who's it being applied to? Is this being applied during the training for the police officers?
Isn't it interesting how Jeffrey Dahmer nobody cares about the occult stuff, and like all these other, like the serial killers in the book Program to Kill that we referenced in the earlier episodes, how all of them somehow they got through the system, and then they were moved around by these people, in the government that are allowing for this to, and they're not talking about hypnotism, and they're not talking about program multiples. They're keeping it under wraps, like you're saying there, Hans. And what kind of law enforcement problems? What problem are they going to solve?
Right, good point. Like it's kind of deliberately vague. Like, what's the problem? The problem is we want to create the crime we're going to solve.
We're up that I'm a poofter and I'm hanging out
blackmailed
at the beach with my love interest, dancing the night away, tangoing away. We're in a culture where if it was known he was a flamer, he would have been out in a microsecond. You know what I mean?
True.
Like, especially in that FBI position, he would not. It was not a tolerant. I think it was certain places it was illegal, right? Sodomy was still illegal.
Don't you think it's kind of like the dark occult rubbing our noses in it? Kind of like how like Obama was, his wife is not a female, and he's like, he does crack and goes down on dudes, and it's like he's the first black president, and they're like, oh wow, it's so honorific. But then like you really learn about what they do, and and it's just like it's as if the dark occult wants to invert everything, right? And if they're giving us the first black man president is so honorable, and we give him the peace prize and all that crap, but then if you really know who he is, like even his birth certificate is like totally photoshopped, and it's obviously proved, and that leads into the Trump thing, and like that whole like barrel of things that roll down the hill. And but it's like the inversion, and they're rubbing our noses in it. It's like a fu if we ever learn the truth of what's really going on, like how the Satanists are running the world, and they feed on their babies. And if they ever really, then we would be so horrified, and it would be like such a even more traumatic. It's like it's a power move for them, and it aggrandizes their egos for look at what we can do, and I don't know.
Well, I think here is very specifically connected with FBI having control over local law enforcement, right? How many times FBI steps in, there's an investigation. Just didn't that happen? Same thing in Utah, right? Oh, it's out of your hands, right? Or so I think this is a pyramidal type of control thing, and I just made light of Hoover's sexual orientation, but I mean that's something with his mafia being blackmailed by the mafia, or insipidly being blackmailed, right? I don't know what extent he
Right.
was blackmailed at this time, but he can let his mob guys slide. You get control over local law enforcement. So, you know what I mean? So, and I think there's even
Right.
the indication too that in a certain way they want to give this to the very executive levels. Maybe even they potentially have hypnotic control over their special agents as well.
Probably, dude. Yes.
Sure, why not?
Right.
They're just implementing it all over the place. I mean, I don't know. You're right.
And
This
then all those serial killers are just the lone nut, and all those other murders that the cult is responsible for, they can just heap it onto the pile and be like, "Oh, Henry
they
Lee
can
Lucas did it," or whatever.
right. They can control the outcome. It's so
Right.
important. Like they can say, okay, so the patsy gets put in, and then the FBI is part of the whole
Cover up.
ruling class, corrupt
Right.
deep state, so to speak. Like, oh yeah, well, we know
They can
exactly.
even
They knew they had to have known everything about James Earl Ray, Sirhan, probably Oswald, like in the 60s.
and they were able to even take JFK's body and manipulate the wound of his head and stuff. You know what I mean? Like they had such control over that whole situation and how it was rolled out on the public, and the
J.
Zapruder
Edgar
film
Hoover's
and that whole
right
thing.
there in the JFK assassination. He came out with like the lone nut. We have to stab. There's actually a memo of him. I could probably try to find it while we're here, but he's saying we have to maintain that Oswald was the lone shooter. He
See?
literally put that in writing.
Wow. So it's just like George W. Bush saying, like, we got to catapult the propaganda, like he's telling the audience, we got to say it over and over again so that we can brainwash you. It's like the little bit of
Well,
truth right there.
I just thought of this based on this memo is think about like say hey, Sandy Hook, the coroner, like some of these law enforcement speeches, they look like they're friggin' in trances, right? There's a lot of, various cases where you get, the press conference and the chief of police, whatever comes out, right? And so I wonder, easily, code command, or whatever, or else doesn't it seem that way? I mean, if you think about it,
Right.
it is, that's, I mean, not just them coming and stepping on the local enforcement and saying, don't look here, don't look there, but let's, here's a trigger, tap you on your neck, put on your,
Remember the recent like drowning or whatever, and somebody was at the police the police was informing the public of whatever information, and somebody had the smiley faces on their phone, and they were holding up their
Yeah.
phone for the camera to see, to trigger all the people that are watching on the television. It's really interesting.
Yeah, that was
William-
Riley Strain in Nashville.
Right, that one was a big
Incredible
deal.
one.
A
Yeah.
big deal,
Huge.
that one.
Covered it right up. Oh, yeah, he just drowned. Move on.
And he ended up upriver. How did he get upriver if he
Well,
fell in
he
the
was
water?
he was found downriver, but like he
Oh,
would have
okay.
traveled like 10 miles in the 2 weeks. So why didn't he travel farther? Where's his pants? His shoes were missing. They never
Oh.
found his phone. Like, who leaves their phone? Like, oh, I'm gonna go for a dip. Doop, doop. Why didn't they find his phone if he left it? Right.
Right.
So I mean, that's
It's perfect evidence of how everything was covered up and like, oh, bumbling officers. Whoops, sorry. Oh, I don't know. And it just all it's yeah, it's allowed to happen. It seems. I think that those smiley face things are part of the whole network. The occultists in charge are like allowing this to happen. We see it everywhere. You see it. You report on it, William.
I think that woman who was the psychic, she really, I think she keyed into it, that it goes all the way back to like music executives in Chicago, it's an elite kind of practice, and that's it. And so they're like vampires almost, like on young boys. I mean, but the same
Very
thing
sick,
happened.
but it fits that they're submerging them in water.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? For their moon goddess, and that for, the dark occultism, that the whole shit with the go ahead. Sorry.
It's the same thing from the Oak Island that we talked about last night, where these kids disappeared, but they're kept somewhere for a time. They know they're being kept, much like the smiley face killers. They're kept somewhere, or the family murders in Adelaide, or it's just the phenomenon. It's too weird, and it's too the fact that the FBI doesn't want to address it, I think, is telling. It may be tie into some of these documents. I don't know.
Well, yeah, and you see the propaganda, I mean, or the filmic interpretation, like we talked about, like McMartin, how they keep rolling that out, either as documentary or fictionalized, or there's all this stuff, right? That keeps coming out. But how many, the Franklin cover-up, who really forced these cover-ups as FBI? Almost across the board, you see this all the time, right?
Yes, exactly.
And even having, investigators, detectives' career ruined. If people don't give up, they get screwed. Some of them.
Yeah, and those were like feral children that were like in dirty clothes and barely spoke English in a van with well-dressed individuals, bringing them to Mexico. Like, people should look into these higher orders of the Freemasons above the Shriners. There's other ones like the Jesters and the Quetzalcoatl and stuff, and they do operations. I think anyway.
The psychic's name is Sloan Bella. I did a whole chapter on my new book about her and her views on stuff. I think it's really very interesting.
Also, what Hans brought up earlier, that Mindhunter, whatever, the TV show on Netflix, that it frames all of the serial killers and the profiling, and it tells us, it's like programming us to believe this thing that they've always been trying to push since the beginning of this.
Pre-crime. What's profiling? It's a form of pre-crime, is it not?
Yeah, I guess
in a certain way, you're profiling. You get a profile. If you have a profile, it makes sense that if I have a profile, if you're doing marketing, right, you got a profile of, a certain consumer will buy Red Bull, and I'm looking for middle-aged white truck drivers. That's
funny.
a
Facebook
profile.
Calls you your profile. Like,
no, you profile it, and you want to be able to predict that you'll be able to get them to buy your product. That's customer profile. Right. Group profiling, but in a sense of profile, if you have this, you fit the profile. You fit the profile of this pre-crime.
Right. You're in the basket of deplorables. You're one of them. I am an us. You are them. Get them. Anyway,
next one is very.
The other thing you mentioned, Mindhunter, is interesting because that's John Douglas, who came up last night. I had no idea he worked for the Ramsey family, which is crazy because I studied him in depth in the West Memphis 3, and he is mega sketchy.
So the hero, the guy that's the
so-called hero. Yeah, he's portrayed as a hero, much like Ken Lanning. But people, do yourself a favor and go read this. It's not even, I can't find the Google reference, but I wrote this 8 years ago on John Douglas. And the title is the John Douglas and the Release of the West Memphis 3. And it's in his book, Law and Disorder, but he overlooked so many things. It's a no satanic crime. I list all these Satanists: Fall River Satanist, Ricky Casso, Beast of Satan, Hardy Boys, Vampire Clan, Adolfo Casan. But Like he didn't read certain stuff. He overlooked things, miscarriage, and he was involved. He literally was talking to people who were in the documentary. So like people don't know, like he literally went and talked to John Mark Byers. So if you remember, Mark Byers is in the father's in the like first or second documentary, firing guns. Like they paid him money to be in the documentary. A lot of people don't know that. Listen to this. With his completed analysis profile of the case pointing culpability away from the West Memphis Three, Douglas traveled to the city of West Memphis in 2007 to interview family members. Douglas met with Pamela Hobbs, mother of victim Stephen Branch, and imparted to her his theory of the case. Quote, this is from Douglas. This isn't me. By the time I left, Pam no longer believed the West Memphis Three were guilty of the murder of her son.
Wow.
So he literally
Mission
showed up
accomplished,
and turned
right?
her. What's that?
Mission accomplished, right? He was like, yep,
Right.
did
It
my
sounds like
job.
strong arming. You know what I mean? Like no longer believed. Like either what,
Coercion.
This is
hypnotic-
from the book. This is a direct quote from his book, like the Mindhunter book. It's called Law and Disorder. I mean, I took this thing apart. Like, I mean, it's so dark. You cannot even fathom the average. It's like True Detective levels of like wickedness and evil, because he turned the parents away from like the view of, I mean, what happened. It's just so crazy. He also spoke with John Mark Byers, stepfather of the victim, Stephen Byers. By the time he was done speaking with Byers, Douglas convinced him as well that the West Memphis Three did not commit the crime.
Wow.
He openly tells his reader his involvement of the case to change their opinion. By his own admission, Douglas's reputation and his involvement in the case persuaded two of the parents to change their belief of guilt to innocence. Like, it's so dark.
So do you think he used some of these hypnotism techniques that were learned by Estabrooks and transmitted to the law enforcement way back in 35?
I actually feel nauseous knowing that he was involved in the John Benet Ramsey case. Like,
yeah,
it makes me feel so freaking sick. Like, because I know that guy. He actually bungled his analysis. Like, he's supposedly the mine hunter, but like he bungled, whether intentionally or not. Like, you have to ask these questions. He bungled the Green River killing too. Like, I think he said something like he had a profile that wasn't correct. So like,
bungled in quotes.
Well,
right?
and-
Seems intentional to me.
This is
so
actually
dark.
for me is kind of not mind blowing, but I mean, I watched that show. I didn't know anything about the guy except for what I saw in the show, Mine Hunters. You know, so I literally had, I wasn't even aware he was connected with all these cases. I didn't, I heard the name, I didn't draw it together. But seeing how I imagine I'm watching the show as an innocent victim and thinking, oh, this guy is such a crusader for justice. Right. This guy is going against this old system, and he really wants to help people, and he's such a pioneer. And look, he's working with this lesbian psychologist. He's such an open-minded guy back in the 70s, and he's got whatever. It's like, and he's got his sidekick, the detective, the salty guy, salt of the earth. What is actually going on there? They're doing all the police training, right? And they show all the people, the police training, basically telling, get the F out of here. You guys are clowns. The police are very against him, right? At least in the show, that, the run of the mill police. And they're like, what are you telling us how to run our investigation? But he shows them the light. He shows them the light through this advanced profiling stuff that he just develops. Like, there was no psychology stuff at the FBI, basically, is what it implies, right? Or very little. I don't know what we have to say about that, William. So it's pretty wild to see that he literally is going in there, and he's the point person to whatever narrative or story that has been decided upon. He's going to make sure that doesn't matter what the friggin' evidence is. You can't get Joan Benet. You cannot get worse evidence than that. If you can make that fly away, you can make anything go away.
It's incredible.
Right.
You can make anything go away.
Yeah. Rubbing our nose in it. Yeah.
Bro, we had that conversation about John Benet last night, and then I went on my social media, and Dana Dude posted this. So this is actually pretty funny. Like, the timing was incredible. Maybe she was listening to the show. I have no idea, but she's great. So Dana, shout out to you. But she just posted this. It's so true. Like, it's mind blowing. I mean, it's really crazy. But I mean, the other thing is that I came across something about Ken Lanning. I was disputing Ken Lanning because he's also an ex-FBI agent who has this whole thing about there's no satanic crime. And then some guy came out. It was the guy who was studying the McMartin case, and he's flat out said that Ken Lanning is the biggest disgrace to law enforcement in American history. Like, and so Ken Lanning is this other authority like Douglas, and they're like establishing these fake narratives. It's like freaking True Detective. Like, what are you guys doing? Like, they're polluting the public mind. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. It's so dark.
That's their job, to pollute the public mind. I mean, what government wants to pollute the public mind? They want us to be listening to the radio and thinking that, oh, that's grandpa telling us the truth, and like fireside chats into the television. The polluting of the public mind is the job. That's how to get it done, I think. Yeah.
Watch this. Let me read this. This is like John Douglas is not alone. This is my point, is that this is from the Franklin cover-up. Gunderson commented on the effect of land. Okay. May 25th, 1990 interview with the Executive Intelligence Review. Gunderson said in the McMartin case, for example, before any criminal charges were filed against anyone, 460 complaints were filed with the Manhattan Beach Police. Are we to believe that 460 families fed their children the same story of ritualistic sex abuse, animal sacrifices, etc.? He stressed that the crimes were reported in an affluent suburban area where residents are typically skeptical about organized child abuse or satanic conspiracies. Gunderson commented on the effect of Lanning's disclaimers, quote, "In my opinion, other than Satan is active in the United States in the 20th century, Aleister Crowley, Anton LaVey, and Michael Aquino, Ken Lanning is probably the most effective and foremost speaker for the satanic movement in this country today or any time in the past." I'll repeat that sentence again.
Wow.
In my opinion, other than Aleister Crowley, Anton LaVey, and Michael Aquino, Ken Lanning is probably the most effective and foremost speaker for the satanic movement in this country today or any time in the past. It's a direct quote of Gunderson.
Gunderson again, like, so then is Gunderson
That's
like
Franklin
almost like the
cover-up.
deep intel? Like he's he's saying like, wow, this guy's great. I mean, it's it noticed 33-day trial. All the
Oh yeah, 33 number in Charlie Kirk, right?
Of course.
33 hours. Found him in 33, guys. Nothing to see here. No coding, no numerological coding, guys. Wow. So it makes this whole thing makes the FBI, you have to question the FBI, like Lanning and Douglas. How X are they? They're probably picking up like their blood money or whatever it is. Like what was it when you like, my brain is fried. They're probably picking up money for their retirement money, right? So they're probably not going to do anything where they're going to expose. I bet they sign tons of NDAs and stuff at the FBI. Like you'll never disclose anything or talk shit about the FBI, or you won't get your retirement funds.
Don't they have to sign in blood?
Or you'll get suicide.
Sign in blood on the bottom line. They sign in blood to pack
Right.
the devil. Practically.
It's just like one of these guys here who died at 41 in a car crash. Is it really a car crash? What is it?
Right. Very convenient all the time. And somehow they die. Yeah.
One of these guys here, Lester, who's in this list with Tolson. Lester was an FBI agent and editor of the employee magazine, The Investigator, and he is credited with originating the FBI's motto, fidelity, bravery, and integrity, in a comment made in September 1935, so it's right around the time of this. He served as a supervisor in the FBI's training division, was known as the face of the FBI during the 1930s, giving public relations speeches across the country during a challenging period for the agency. He joined in FBI in 1932 after practicing law in Memphis and was recognized for his agent training abilities, earning the trust of FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover. He resigned in 1940 to care for his mother and died in a car crash in 1941. So I got to see if I can find a picture of W.H. Drain Lester. It's just lost history. These guys don't have any pictures or anything like that. Anyway, should we pick this back up?
Yeah. So this is one I pulled out where it starts getting kind of deep with the thread. If I read this one, this is
Please do. Sure.
Okay. Yeah. So this is, I think we're going to see this And what's important is instead of just making conjecture, right? We can start to gather some direct evidence because obviously once these things are implemented, they're not going to be in any documents we're going to have access to. You know
Right.
what I mean? Okay.
This is before it goes underwater, before it goes down, before it goes deep. This
Yeah.
is like, right, right.
So we're talking December, basically January, February, March, April, May. But already by within 4 or 5 months, it's already being implemented into programs or potentially. So, okay, memorandum for the director. I was at Hamilton, New York, the seat of Colgate University, on May 16th and 17th, 1936. While there, I conferred at length with Professor G.H. Estabrooks, who is professor of psychology and also vocational director of the students at Colgate. I also conferred with Dr. Cutton, the president of the university. Professor Estabrooks has been conducting experiments in hypnotism for a little while, and Dr. Cutton has been interested in hypnotism for many years. Dr. Cutton is in his 60s and has published certain books and articles concerning hypnotism, which he wrote while at Yale University some years ago. He was an associate of leading psychologists interested in hypnotism at the time, such as the late Professor Munsterberg, the Munsters, right? I don't know, of Harvard. Professor Estabrooks demonstrated his ability to hypnotize certain subjects by placing under hypnotic influence 3 students of the university. These students were of the scholarly type. One was a senior and the other 2 sophomores. The subjects were apparently put under hypnotic influence without trouble. While under the influence, they were given certain post-hypnotic suggestions, such as looking in a book at their sides, looking up certain references therein, and making statements in connection therewith. The experiments proceeded in an entirely successful manner. Inquiry developed statements by both Professor Estabrooks and President Cutton to the effect that the hypnotic process can to date only be applied to voluntary subjects who place themselves entirely under the guidance of the hypnotizing practitioner. Of course, I pointed out that in the application of hypnotism to criminals, the criminals would obviously not be cooperative. This matter was discussed at some length during the 2 days I was there, and it was thought possible that if the hypnotizing practitioner could be introduced to the criminal in the guise of a physician, he would recommend entire quiet to him. In this manner, the subject might place himself in a condition whereby the hypnotizing process would be successful. This is, of course, possible. The technique would have to be evolved by practice in accordance with the circumstances of each individual case. Professor Estabrooks had certain ideas relative to the use of hypnotism during wartime, such as placing a messenger under hypnotic influence, giving him a message to be delivered at a distance, and also affording to him the post-hypnotic suggestion that this message should be delivered to no person except upon the disclosure of certain code words. I told him I did not see how this particular phase of the matter would be of professional interest to the Bureau, and he agreed with me. The hypnotic technique seems simple. It should be understood, however, that George Estabrooks pointed out that only 1 in 5 individuals is an appropriate hypnotic subject, and that, as stated in the foregoing, the subjects must cooperate to the fullest extent with the practitioner. George Estabrooks was of the opinion that the process could be demonstrated to a selected group of Bureau representatives in 6 days. The technique, as I observed it, if it could be imparted at all, could certainly be imparted in 6 days to Bureau representatives. I am of the opinion, however, that certain indefinable qualities must be possessed by said Bureau representatives. Just what these qualities are, I am unable to state.
Wow.
Of course, there is ample room. And we can go back. You guys may take notes. There's a lot in this. Okay. Of course, there's ample room for deception. I'm going to read that again. I am of the opinion, however, that certain indefinable qualities must be possessed by said Bureau representatives. Just what these qualities are, I am unable to state. Of course, there's ample room for deception in the case of hypnotism, as a subject might feign hypnotic sleep and perform actions in accordance with post-hypnotic suggestions, which he naturally would hear during his feigned sleep. George Esterbrooks pointed out, however, that he possessed a certain instrument called, as I recall, the psychogalvanometer, which afforded a sure test as to whether the subject was sleeping or otherwise. During the test, George Estabrook transferred control from himself to myself in order that I might ask the subject certain questions during the hypnotic trance. He answered all the questions and appeared to have a better memory during the trance than when fully conscious. This, I was told by both President Cutton and Dr. Esterbrooks, is in accordance with their research activities. Hypnotized subjects possess a much clearer memory under the influence than otherwise. Professor Esterbrooks pointed out that a subject accustomed to the hypnotic control of one individual could not be hypnotized by another individual. So for this reason, I tried no hypnotic experiments with his subjects myself. Okay. Shall I just finish up? Page 3.
Can we chat? There's one quick thing.
Yeah, the last page. We'll do the last page.
All right, you go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
No, we can. There's a lot. Okay, I'll just finish up. Okay. My recommendation is as follows. I am of the opinion that the Bureau, particularly the laboratory, should engage in every possible research activity along lines of modern scientific law enforcement interest. I am of the opinion that Professor Esterbrooks should be invited to come to Washington to address the next police training school, but not along the line of hypnotism. His subject is psychology, and he could address the class on this subject. From what I observed, he could deliver as interesting a lecture as the other outside scholars. He appeared to be much interested in young people and is probably a good instructor. While here in Washington, the Bureau could avail itself of his services for the purposes of taking a select group of said supervisors and laboratory experts for the purpose of demonstrating upon them, and to his hypnotic, and to them, his hypnotic process. Upon them and to them. Okay. Possibly in that group, we might find certain subjects who could be hypnotized, and in the same group, certain subjects who, by reason of continued experiments on the individuals hypnotized, could develop the technique. It all seems a little visionary, but I am of the opinion that proper research activity should be conducted. If this is accomplished, however, and particularly if any success is attained therein, it is highly desirable that the strictest secrecy be observed as to the Bureau's work along these lines, inasmuch as any publicity would have an undesirable effect upon possible future criminal subjects, inasmuch as they would be on their guard against hypnotic suggestion. George Esterbrooks was of the opinion that the Bureau, he could obtain access to criminals in jail. This would undoubtedly be a splendid idea, but I pointed out to him that the jails, federal or otherwise, were not under the control of the Bureau, and that the Bureau's influence with jail officers might be harmful to him rather than helpful. George Esterbrooks would be entirely willing to come to Washington for the purposes indicated in the foregoing. His expense, of course, would have to be paid, inasmuch as I gather that his compensation was not particularly remunerative. President Cutton expressed President Clinton desired to send his regard to the director and stated that he would be willing at all times to assist in every possible manner and to reply to any requests for advice or suggestions. Dr. Clinton impressed me very favorably, both as a scholar and as a practical man. He has had long experience and is an educator of considerable standing and influence from all I could gather. I would rely very much upon Dr. Cutton. Yours very truly, H. Nathan.
I got some notes because that was a bunch. So like in the beginning, they need consent from the hypnotized, right? So they need to, they suggested to dress them up in doctor's clothing to get, so that they would be more susceptible to this, and also the device that was mentioned, is that like an e-meter?
The psychogalvanometer. Like, so they're showing that they have some type of electronic device in 35, like in the 30s.
Like what the Scientologists use.
Just say real quick. So I was doing various types of research, like cognitive research stuff in music, this and that, and you're trying to get like access to MRI, EKG. You have surveys, you have observation, but one of the newest things was the galvanometer had just come out. This is like 2010. Like, this is a new technique to analyze emotional response, cognitive response, and stuff like that through skin response, and also you can take swabs of people's tongue or mouth, also saliva samples, also.
Wow. So it measures the heat of the skin.
Well, it's electrical field activity.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and resistance. I'm not familiar with the psychogalvanometer, but I'm saying it's a pretty, at least what I thought was a pretty advanced modern scientific research technique, but there it is, a device in 1936, which
there it is.
And how do they, he mentioned the transfer of authority from one hypnotist to this other person who's not the hypnotist.
Look, 1937, this is written before 1937.
Doesn't this remind you, Hans, of the other movie that we talked about, the Eyes Without a Face? How the woman was like held down. She had the blinking light in front of her, and they had this paper where they were like measuring her. They had the thing on her head. It was just like Ewan Cameron's the picture of the Ewan Cameron's victims there with the strain all urine, and the kid is there with the ECT. Anyway, does this remind you of that, Hans? Oh, you're muted. You're muted, bud.
Yeah. It does. I mean, it very much so, actually. But what is fascinating is to see that the stuff that because I know that Freud was originally doing like work on the brain, neurophysiology, Galvin, right? Galvin, that goes back to the 1900s. Late, early 20th century, whatever, even before then. So you wonder to what extent some of these technologies have been available, at least. So is this true? The priest invented it, but if he invented it in 1937, or developed. I don't know. So can you find more information on that?
Right.
Wow.
I'm trying to.
Just like how the guy who in quotes invented LSD, Albert Hoffman there, was just given the recipe. You know what I mean? It was in a book already. He just made the stuff. He just synthesized it. You know what I mean? It was already discovered. They knew about it. He developed the technology further, and he got given the mantle of inventing the thing with his bicycle day. But really, he's just the front.
1890s, it was developed. 1890s, Angelo Mosso, 1890s developed this device.
Wow.
So
that's the beginning of electricity, right? I mean, anyway. So also an important thing to note is the transfer of authority from the hypnotist who put the subjects under hypnosis. And then he says, now listen to this guy. And then the other voice programs the mind. So this is just like the television, how we have, the television puts us in the state, and then the expert comes on with the doctor's cloak who tells us what to believe, right? And this transfer of authority is possible, and they're talking about how it's possible in 36. They're like, we can hypnotize 1 of 5 of the population and transfer that authority. This willingness to believe can be transferred. I think that's interesting.
William, could you read that about the Father Walter G.
Sure.
Summers? That seems interesting.
It's Father Walter G. Summers, S.J., Ph.D., was a Jesuit priest and the head of Fordham University's Department of Psychology in the 1930s. He's best known for inventing the psychogalvanometer, a device designed to detect lying by measuring minute electrical currents in the body, which he claimed were influenced by emotional stress. The device was tested in Manhattan in 1936 and reportedly demonstrated effectiveness in identifying deception, such as when a news hawk was correctly identified as having chosen the 3 of diamonds despite denying it. And Fordham is in Manhattan, right? It's in New York.
Can I bring up the fact that the Jesuits have been into trauma-based mind control since forever? I mean, and they have been influencing children since they made the confessional down to 7 years old. And Loyola, the guy that started the Jesuits, says, like, give me a child before he's 7 and I will give you the man. Like, this programming of children. Like, what? The Jesuits have been into. I mean, talk to Johnny Cerrucci. Like, he'll tell you.
There's Harold Pop Nation. That's number 2 under Hoover, second in command under Hoover. He's the one in this document. So this is the, ruling group of the FBI. This is the top brass.
Well, the priest
Isn't
actually
Hoover
invented.
a Catholic too? I'm sorry.
I'm just saying this is who was involved in. This is who signed this 3-page memorandum for the directors. Nathan.
That's who Nathan is.
Well, what the priest invented, I just looked it up. He invented the lie detector. That was the lie detector.
Wow.
So this was a development of that device, which became the lie detector test. This is the lie detector test that he developed. That this is the origin of the lie detector test.
Wow.
Basically, the priest.
Priest is his name. How ironic too. It's like, wow. Oh man. And it from a Roman Catholic, oh my God, the Jesuit. Okay. There's a lot there. I'm sure there's a lot to dig into.
What these qualities are, I am unable to state. Of course, there's ample room for deception. Like, hey guys. And then the psychogalvanometer. Ugh. And then the switch out with the physician is really telling, like, oh, we'll just switch out a physician in here. Right.
And then the people will believe whoever they put in front of them can be that authority transferred. Like that's a huge portion of the biggest key is to people's minds, and the TV itself is a hypnotic device. It's all one big thing.
The other thing is, like, there are principles in here that play out with these other assassins like Sirhan. They couldn't get into his mind certain parts of it, and they're playing it out here. Professor Estabrooks pointed out that a subject accustomed to the hypnotic control of one individual could not be hypnotized by another individual. So it's like there's something like an intimate process between the hypnotized and the hypnotizer.
Just like with SRA programming, they traumatize the victim and then they do a bonding, in the book Pimp by, or whatever. Chappelle talks about it, how the pimp learns from the older pimp to beat his woman with a rod or whatever until she's fully scared and traumatized, and then you draw a bath and you give her pills, and then she's like fully under your control. So it's this is the system of how it's done. Anyway.
Right. And they're figuring out these are talking to like the heads of the FBI. It's off the charts.
Right. And trauma is so like integral to the whole thing. And, to traumatize the public with the television, never forget 9/11, never forget. We had to keep watching the people jump out of the buildings and all that. Like it fully put us in a trance. And then we gave the authority to, okay, we'll take the Patriot Act and okay, we'll start wars. And who did it? I don't care. Like, go bomb them, turn the fucking Middle East to glass. Like, like people were fully under control. Their minds were taken. It's just
Trauma, then suggestion. Trauma, then suggestion.
Exactly. Right.
The experiments proceeded in an entirely successful manner. This is like academic environments. They're
infallible. Right.
He's with the head of the freaking university. President Cutton is the head of Colgate.
Right.
So they're going through this investigation it's not like jokers playing around with hypnotism at some party on a Saturday afternoon. Like these guys are serious and they're the tops.
And this is the most important key to all of the manipulation of government mind control for the future. Ever since 30 something, the government has been controlling the masses.
This is the inception. This is the genesis. This is where like the little acorn seed expanded into a mighty oak of brain mind control. This is it. This is it. This guy, like we were joking in earlier episodes if people missed it, but the guy who like released this document, like what's his name? David Hardy, like he's like eating Cheetos and trying to figure out what he's gonna have for lunch. Like
he's doing fantasy football or something,
football, should we get round table pizza or a burger today? We just
swiping on the
get this 500-page document out of my freaking hands.
He didn't even redact it, which is awesome, right? Because I mean,
good point. Good point.
I've got so many other documents. Like this would just be redacted. There'd be like all the 3 sentences on this whole 3-page document.
That's a really good point. Like they just didn't care. Like he just like, here it is.
It's like the grace of God. God just allowed it to happen. Like it's influenced this guy to let
the
it go
Steelers,
through.
man. I'm going for the Steelers.
Because everybody passed away, and then they didn't understand the importance of this. Like, who's going to read this 500-page document? Like he's like, 500. Let's get rid of this. Nobody's going to care. And then it's like,
we are
wow, this is incredible.
We are very happy to read this 500-page document.
There's also an adjoining 40-pager. Like we were only like at page 14.
Right.
Just to say, I did look up Cooten a little bit. So Cooten is I mean, there's not a lot on him, but he, again, was the president of Colgate. His book that I could find was on alcoholism, right? And he said there's only 2 cures for alcoholism: hypnotism or religious conversion. Wow. Think about William Sargent, Battle for the Mind, right? Religious.
What about AA too? That's a whole new religion for those people like that, won't accept religion and that, they go every week and sorry.
Yeah. And so even this beginning thing that the college students were the scholarly type, which means they're intelligent, right? You've got intelligent people. And so they're,
There's a better version of the psycho galvanometer.
Right. So it's measuring the blood pulsing in the fingertips.
It's a skin react. It's electrical.
It's electrical, right? Yeah.
Yeah. It's resistance in the skin. So galvanic skin response. So it can measure emotion and various other things.
But the lie detector is still not really taken as proof in court, right, William?
Yeah, they've proven that it's not foolproof. Some people have said it's 100%, but you can rig a lie detector test. All you have to do is take a thumbtack and stick it under your big toe. And just juice that bad boy, the whole thing, and it'll just throw the whole thing off.
Oh,
because your response is So if you ever get arrested, but people will be like, "What's going on? His things are off the charts." It's like I'm causing myself pain. It's actually it's like the Ipcris file where the guy's like, being put under the induction, and then he's Harry Palmer's has that rod in his hand where he's drawing blood. So you can manipulate those things. Yeah.
Isn't Hans? Don't practitioners of Buddhism can't high level practitioners can control their physiological functions and their heartbeat and that type of thing. Hindus
can do it too. I mean,
yogis. That's what I meant. Right? Yeah. Hindus.
No. Absolutely. I mean, there's even there's a practice called POA, right? And POA, you actually eject your consciousness out of the crown of the head, and you can project your consciousness into someone else's body. I mean, this is sounds weird. I mean, but it relates to the bone, skull bones. I mean, this actually can be done to a certain extent. So, but yeah, slowing down heart rate. People have been buried alive for like year, 2 years, dug up, and they're still alive because they
Wow.
can completely go into suspended animation. Um, yeah, there's. I mean, it just. I mean, I was up in uh, Gangotri, is the source of the Ganges River in the Himalayas, right? And this is God knows how cold, right? 50 degrees below 0, 100. Guys walking around buck naked or just wearing a little loincloth,
Wow.
completely fine because of the inner heat practice, right? It's called tumo. So
Wow.
inner heat, yoga of inner fire. A lot of these things, though, have been presented to people in the West, and people start engaging in these things. They don't know what they're doing, the type of guidance. They get under hypnotic command suggestions, just a little bit. So yes, these things are certainly possible,
Right.
but they also, you're sort of getting into the operating system, right? You're getting into the deep hardware. Like you're not going to just pull. If I'm my laptop, I'm not just going to pry it apart and start pulling chips out of my laptop unless I know what the hell I'm doing, right? You know what I mean?
Hopefully.
So
Yeah.
it's not. You know what I mean? I'm saying like you could think of the regular rational mind or conscious mind as sort of it's running on the computer, but if you so yes, but no, absolutely, yeah. These things can be controlled, etc. But anyway, so back to the Esterbrook. So like, so they're looking up references, books, looking at in a book at their side. So I just feel like this language, it's very again, it's like shadow language to a certain
Mm.
degree. But so this is not like what how many things, right? This like all these assassins reading in the book, reading the phrase in the book, getting the trigger, go buy the book, go to the store, buy the book, read this
Right.
book, open this book, or play solitaire, right? Same thing, right? I think it's right. Um,
Also, with the occultism, the dark occultist holds his occult books in his left hand. In the statuary, it's that way. Even the Statue of Liberty has the books in her left hand, and it's like on their side, like the left hand path. I don't know if it's like that literal, but that's what made me think. But yeah, I bet that is coded language, Hans. You're probably right.
Yeah, you can see the deception in their coded language in these FBI stuff too. I mean, it's just off the charts.
the
So
the, fa- the
funny to
my,
watch them. Yeah, I'm unwilling to state, but then they're talking face to face. They're like, guys, we can probably get people to do whatever the f we want. We just have to get Esther Books on board or whatever.
Yeah.
Learn it ourselves.
Government is drooling. They're just like
Yeah,
frothing at
yeah,
the bit. Yes, we can
yes,
control their minds. Tell us. Yeah.
yeah. Like, we've got this new technique. We got to go up to Colgate right away. So this is the next one. Memorandum 1936. Lester took George Esterbrooks of Colgate University and Mr. Coffee to lunch today. Dr. Esterbrooks was very enthusiastic in his comments upon the Bureau's laboratory and stated that it was far beyond his expectations, and he was most agreeably surprised to find out up to date it was and what fine equipment it possesses. They're so interested they got their own lab, the FBI. The three of us discussed matters of mutual interest, particularly in connection with Dr. Esterbrooks' pet subject of practical hypnosis. Dr. Coffey, I presume, will submit a detailed memorandum concerning Dr. Esterbrooks' experiments in the Bureau. So he's experimenting in the Bureau. And I have asked Mr. Coffey to notify me so I could sit in on some of Dr. Esterbrooks' demonstrations if possible. Lester.
William,
So
can
they
you
either
share
had a
that page?
laboratory or something. Oh, sorry, guys. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I'm like,
Guys, I'm trying to find it on my thing and I'm lost again. What
sorry.
page are
I
you on?
forgot to bring it up. I have it
It's
on
okay.
my thing.
Okay.
That's my
Are you on
mistake.
20,
So-
19?
Yeah, I'm on page on my
it's
it's
16.
my
16.
page. It's 15 or 16.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
I'm sorry.
That's it. I'm sorry, guys.
No, it's
like
okay.
I'm not doing my
It's-
job.
You're good, man.
Dude,
You're good.
you're
It's your birthday. You're allowed.
it's Marilyn Monroe sang to you.
That's right.
But
Have anybody investigated Theosophy, Scientology, and MK Ultra? How much are they intertwining?
Dianetics, dude. What's Dianetics? It uses like that
Right, the E-meter.
Yeah.
e-meter. That's yeah.
The electrogalvanometer, right? It is
Yeah,
that. It's what it is. They just
Yeah.
renamed it, rebranded it.
Just use the
1899.
first letter, the E, instead of electrogalvanic, right? Yeah.
I think that Burroughs was an early adherent to Dianetics
He was.
or Scientology, and somebody asked him, I have to find this reference, but I vaguely remember somebody asking, is this the CIA mind control stuff? And Burroughs is like, yeah, this is it. So like he made that connection between all the mind control research and experimentation that was happening in the 50s and what he was going through. Once he kind of was past the kind of infatuation phase with Scientology, he was like, I got to get this as far away from me as possible.
So William Burroughs, the guy that shot his wife in the head and was buggering little kids in South America,
The road naked
that one,
lunch.
that same one,
Yeah,
yeah.
naked lunch. Oh, okay.
Pictured with Genesis Porridge, P. Orge, and
Oh,
Peter
man.
Christopherson, and these other.
Yeah.
So like a proud
Debauched
pedophile
characters.
who actually killed his wife and was let out of prison. Like this. Okay.
A rich boy too. He was like a Harvard graduate
Right.
he never worked. It's kinda
Burroughs
like
adding
Crowley.
machine.
Part of the Beat generation,
yeah.
like that whole before the 60s, they had the Beats, and that was prepping the cultural mind for this new 60s thing, right?
Sure was. Sure.
He was like an elder beat, right? He was sort
Right.
of he was the beat guru, actually.
Yeah,
you're right.
He was older than them. He was very worldly wise, experienced. He had, and he was, the
Junkie.
Burroughs adding machine. So he's from a multimillionaire family that was. If you guys don't mind, I apologize, but I just wanted the middle paragraph in that document. I just find very odd, right? Just this paragraph.
one?
No, yeah, the one I read, the three in this page 2, the third paragraph. You want to read that, William? And just
Do you want me to read it again? Professor Estabrooks?
Yeah.
Professor Estabrooks was of the opinion that the process could be demonstrated to a select group of Bureau representatives in 6 days. The technique, as I observed it, if it could be imparted at all, could certainly be imparted in 6 days to Bureau representatives. Why do you repeat that? I'm of the opinion, however, that certain indefinable qualities must be possessed by said Bureau representatives. Just what these qualities are, I'm unable to state.
Like, no, I just noticed the 6-6, right? Selected group. He's got the 2 6s very clearly expressed. Why is he using that? Why would it be 6 days in particular? Yeah.
And why did God only make the world in 6 days? Like the 7th day had to rest or something, right?
It's a mystery.
But it is
probably related to our already programming, the religious programming we all have.
But this seems like a nudge, nudge, wink, wink, right? Certain indefinable qualities must be possessed by said Bureau representatives. Just what these qualities are, I'm unable to state.
There's ample room for deception.
What the fuck? Yeah, of course.
There's
Possessed by whom, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Anyways, I
The
just thought that
demons.
They could be lying, but Estabrooks has a technology that he can make sure whether they're sleeping or otherwise. So, I mean, it's really crazy. Like this is them learning. That's what I said at the beginning. This is these documents are showing the FBI as they're starting to understand the techniques and what they could do. And understanding the techniques are very important because that's what Estabrooks was doing in McGill, like this kind of more advanced techniques with more drugs, more ECT, and all kinds of weird stuff associated with Dulles. There's no question about it.
Do you guys think that all of these PSYOP operations are a way of sifting through the population so that they can get down to that kernel of 1 in 5 that are fully hypnotizable? Because the rest of us fall away. We're not going to believe whatever, January 6th or whatever. But then some people are like hardliner, like Q people, they fall into this, totally believe everything. Do you think that's a way of sifting it out?
I think that there's a hypnagogic state, sort of, you could describe as it's sort of as I started in the beginning, it's kind of permeates the culture, right? So you may not be like in a certain way, like by doing this, we're showing we're not maybe super hypnotizable, whatever. It doesn't mean it doesn't impact us, right? I think these, especially when you get these collective, you see these different types of agencies, right, and you get this super hypnotized person and someone control them, and you get these other groupings. So I think we may find more regarding this, how this is working, because later on he talks about how long it takes to condition the subjects, to condition people that are resistant to hypnosis. You can do instantaneous hypnosis. You can also condition people over time.
Right. Like they did in Abu Ghraib and took pictures of it and laughed and pointed and like scared people into thinking, electrified them and put hoods on their heads and made them stand in positions and scared them with dogs that as if they were gonna have their genitalia eaten away by dogs. That type of trauma induces the hypnotic suggestions, just like Grok had to endure, this clown that we started talking about way back when.
Yeah, it's really something else. I think that if to answer your question, I think there are sifting process to find all kind. I think the state looks for suggestibility things, criminals, people who are violent, you know, different
Yeah.
tests, and it goes back to all the CIA kind of personality tests that Scientology used. Like that's how you start in Scientology. You literally take a personality test, which is
Same.
super scary. It's like 100 or 200 pages. It's not like a questionnaire that's one page. You go into Scientology, they go, let's find out about your personality. And then then they have all the they have all the information about you. Like, wow.
That is the exact same as the induction into LaVeyan Satanism.
Wow.
You listen to Mark Passio talk about how he had to fill out essays, long, detailed essays about who he is, how he can benefit their organization, about his own psychology, deep stuff. And that was all filed away in his file, Mark Rokar, whatever. It's the same thing. The way they look at how they can use you, and LaVeyan Satanism is a sifting to sift out who's a psychopath that they can use for their organizations. It's really interesting.
Well, I think even that it's maybe overlooked type of sifting that is actually very important is to find people that have a potential to break out of this or could have potential influence on the system, that have potential leadership capacities or types of intelligence, and to steer them in the wrong way, to block them, to put them into sort of psychological traumatic patterns, to keep them from actually being able to fulfill their potential.
Wow.
I think that's also very central, right? So, and then you get, again, going back to maybe William or Sean will have to talk about that, Operators and Things, which is such a weird book, but I mean, it's like that's in a sense they're things, the operators, right? So you're being operated, you're being corralled, and then you have your just all these personality testing, like all this stuff. Look at the mental health, the criminalizing of mental health as the new frontier of law enforcement agencies, right? And I'll send you this weird, inverted pyramid with all the color schemes. Have you guys seen all these? They have these specific colors, indigo, this, that. This is a major initiative. And this goes all the way back. You can go back to the mental hygiene stuff at the United Nations, but I think it definitely ties into this as well. And this testing. Go ahead, Wayne. Yeah.
Well, saying here it is. They have a whole wiki.
Oh, he fell out. Shit. Well, I'll take it. If they can deem you mentally incapable, then they can take away the need for your consent. There he is.
I just wrong button.
Okay, but I just said that if they can prove that you are not sane, then they don't need your consent for what they're going to do to you. Just like Bedlam, the first mental hospital, they would like chain people to the wall. They would like make them sick with insulin and to just make them not be able to even control their own body. So it's a way of subduing people that won't be subdued. If you deem them crazy, just like they got this thing, the cops can take you away for 72 hours. If someone says that you're a threat to yourself or others, they just take you away because your mental health, right? So no wonder they're putting such focus on the mental health stuff.
Can you read some of those questions, William? They just seem very odd. I don't know.
Do you browse through railway timetables, directories, or dictionaries just for pleasure? Do you often sing or whistle just for the fun of it? Does emotional music have quite an effect on you? Do you rarely suspect the actions of others? This is like parallax view type stuff.
Wow.
This was totally fake. He named it Oxford Capacity Analysis to give it a more gravitas sounding title, but like it has nothing to do with Oxford.
But isn't Oxford part of the English, like Rule Britannia, the whole Cecil
Yeah,
Rhodes
he was.
thing?
Yeah, he was like
You
a
know, the
white.
hierarchy of
Yeah.
that. You know?
It has no relation to the University of Oxford, although the name may have been chosen to imply a link.
Right.
Esther Brooks is Oxford. though.
Very, very numerous psychology organizations have pointed out is not a genuine personality test, and that Scientology recruiters use it in a highly manipulative and unethical fashion. Surprise, surprise. Guys,
Yeah,
I think I'm at the
Wikipedia-
2-hour mark. I think it's
All right.
time for me to
Yeah.
wrap it up and go to episode 8 next week.
I'm glad that we have an open end for this, William. Thank you.
Guys, we are only at 20 pages through this. When we don't speed up, we're going to do like 30 episodes. But it's so important. Like I said, I could keep reiterating ad nauseum. You're showing this kind of unraveling and understanding that's taking place between Extra Brooks and these heads at the FBI, and how clever they are in their statements too. You can see how they're deceptive, and they're writing in their memorandum and their missives like, oh God, there's a potential for deception here. They're starting to figure it out.
Right. And you said it so well earlier, William. It's the kernel of the acorn that turns into the mighty oak of mind control that we have now. It's so integral and important for us to understand. And thank you for bringing it to our attention and, you know, helping share for the ears of all the listeners.
It explains some of the mysteries of these guys' behavior. Like, what are they doing? What's Mangione doing? What's Crooks doing? What's Ruth doing? Like, or even Chapman. What's happening with these guys? They don't make sense. Like, they're not fully rational or whatever. And I think that's the stuff that's Esther Brooks and all that is possible explanation for it.
You know, and these obviously these subjects, you return to them, it goes deep, but I mean, you can see already you have like almost a multiple personality thing where the person goes as a secret courier, no memory. Is that just hypnosis, or is that like a splitting of personality? Right? I mean, so, but this is so early. You know what I mean? Like you think like this is very early. I mean, this is, but then this also ties in with Pavlov's research in, it was, you guys familiar with like the Stalinist science where they try to bring animals back to life, like the dog. They have the dog with two heads. They have the dog with a giant heart machine. So all this stuff is going on too, right? It is based also on this very mechanistic approach to the human being, and then again, one last thing, these guys are elites, right? I mean, Oxford, they are communicating in a certain way, even mentioning Yale. I didn't see that he did that at Yale, but that with Skull and Bones or something, there's some shared backgrounds, right? That these people have that not, you know what I mean? So they have an elite sort of subtext for their communications.
Agreed.
The schools.
Right. They're probably in the higher orders of the dark occult orders. They probably are in the same rings within rings, the higher ups, they know each other because they all wear robes together on Saturday.
I think that Esther Brooks was a Rhodes Scholar. Like that puts him in kind of an elite thing. Yeah.
Yes, he was.
Wow. Okay. He's from Oxford and a Rhodes
He became
Scholar.
a military officer at age 19.
Wow.
But somehow he joined
He's probably
the army.
generational. Right?
He joined the army as a teenager, and then he's 19 as a commanding officer. That's kind of. Right. He looks kind of small, dude. He doesn't look. He's not like some,
just big, like Aquino, right? Wasn't Aquino joined the army young, and he was a small guy, and he's used for mind control, like as architect of mind control.
Yeah, and he also wrote "Man, the Mechanical Misfit." So there's that theme that you just mentioned, Hans, is that this mechanical view of people. And he also wrote The Future of the Human Mind. I cannot find this freaking book, but it's got to be super important because they always mention his book Hypnosis and stuff like that, but I cannot find The Future of the Human Mind.
Wow.
Hans, do you remember the children's music that you brought to my show long ago about like I'm a robot? And
I know I'm a little puppet.
There you go.
And so these were records. Children's Records Guild was one of them. They're connected also with they say communist infiltration, but these were records that you have kindergarten, and these were going across the entire nation, and they have like nap time songs, sleepy time songs, and this is I'm a little puppet. Now lift your arms. And it's trippy, man. You can see this is, and imagine this is a conditioning. So your conditioning means that you're going to do this multiple times, not just one day.
Right.
And so these nap time songs, yeah, and which I said, once you have these commands and you look 10 years later when these are teenagers, what's coming into popular music, and you can see this. And then another thing is like children's shows, and I got traumatized.
Mickey Mouse Club, all that.
I mean, there's Barney the Purple Dinosaur, and I had a T-shirt, but it said Stony the Purple Dinosaur. He's smoking. I didn't know it was like that. And people were making fun of me, like, it's Stony, it's not Barney. I'm like, it's Barney. No, but the Purple Dinosaur. But I mean, these. It's kind of hard to subject yourself to it, but watch some kid shows, man, and you'll find some. I don't know, Toss Elmo.
It's all woke stuff, and then the cuties and all that. It like indoctrinates them into being sexual, like what you guys are talking about in Germany. With your Ipcris files, how they were what Kinsey was saying. Like pushing the sex stuff younger and younger into the kids' heads, and I mean, a lot of that TV is in line with that. It's really sick.
But
and the gender stuff. Go ahead.
The hypnotist in disguise.
Right. That's
pretty creepy, isn't it? I mean, you're. This is a doctor. The doctor's going to help you. Oh no!
Right. Trust the science. Right.
You're going to be in a hot tub with J. Edgar Hoover pretty soon, bro.
Yeah, really.
Not remember it.
Let's hope they got cocaine or something.
There is ample room for deception in cases of hypnotism. That's what they said. I didn't know the Process Church had a peace scope. I've never heard of that. So,
and Process Church is more Scientology too, right?
It's an offshoot for sure.
Yes, right.
Then Sippin' On says here, listen to SpongeBob from another room, but don't watch it. You'll be surprised and disgusted. I don't know.
Sick. Yeah.
SpongeBob.
Guys, we had 330 live listeners, so thanks everybody for listening. Right. Kind of didn't really advertise the show very much, but you can go check out these other shows. I think they're posted at the Resonant State or Wake the Dead or William Ramsey Investigates. The video is mixed up because I almost StreamYard only allows me to stream to 3 sites. And then some of these I don't want to show because I don't want to put on YouTube because I'll get a strike.
I'm on YouTube,
they're super sensitive, but yeah, I mean, this one's going to YouTube because we were just looking at a FOIA document, which is they're not copyrighted, these federal documents. So you kind of have to be concerned and worried about that. It's definitely a concern, but this is a FOI. So shout out to Greenwald and the Black Vault for actually getting these documents. It's well worth your support to follow him or give him some extra coin if you have some lying around. Not many people do these days, but the Black Vault does the Lord's work. They have other great docs there. They have other stuff, but these are really, this Esterbrook's document is super important.
People also donate and purchase, donate for William. It's his birthday today. Go buy a book from WilliamRamseyInvestigates.com. Go send him some PayPal. Tell him thank you for what he does for us.
You can go Patreon. I have Patreon. I post a lot of stuff on Patreon ad free. And then my website's William Ramsey Investigates and 5 books. And I actually have to go to the library today. I mean, not the library, the post office, and ship some books out today.
Awesome. Yay. That's great.
Yeah.
And thank you, Hans, as well. People should visit the Resonant State and listen to your other shows. You're doing great work as well. We love to listen, and thank you as well.
Yeah, the Ipcris file, guys. Great movie. Watch it and listen to our episode on that. Really good. All right, guys. Peace. Cheers.
Right, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay.